Hello, I'm Ron Wirtz, editor of the Fed-Gazette. With a couple of months still left in the year, 2011 will already go down as a year of weather disaster. In the 9th District, it was the year of floods, particularly in the Dakotas and Montana. Many have heard about the flood devastation in Minot, North Dakota, where more than 4,000 homes and businesses were inundated, most of them severely and for weeks on end. But aside from this catastrophe, flooding in the district might not seem so severe, at least compared with disasters elsewhere, like Hurricane Irene, or say the tornadoes in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, or Joplin, Missouri, where there was significantly higher loss of life and more concentrated damage. But what many may not appreciate, unless they lived through it or nearby it, was the historic scope of flooding in the 9th District, its three-dimensional scale of breadth, depth, and duration. Floods are not uncommon in the 9th District, but one of the big differences this year was that so much water filled so many rivers and streams, flooding some places that hadn't seen flooding for 50 years or longer. A Fed-Gazette analysis found 74 different rivers, streams, and other tributaries in the district above flood stage at some point between April 1st and July 31st. These flooded waters affected 150 unique locations, cities large and small, as well as unpopulated rural areas. And that's also a conservative count, because many other places flooded where there were simply no water gauges to officially mark a flood. Volume is another chapter of the flood story. Rivers regularly overtop their banks not by inches but by feet. In Minot, the Souris River surged 10 feet over flood stage in late June, and 4 feet higher than ever recorded. The 6 major dams along the Missouri River, 4 in South Dakota and 1 each in North Dakota and Montana, were discharging 6 to 8 times their normal water volume in summer, 50% more than Niagara Falls, and for almost the entire summer. But maybe more than any other characteristic, the floods of 2011 will be remembered for their longevity. Roughly 1 in 3 flooded locations in the district were above flood stage for at least 4 weeks. There were more than a dozen locations that were flooded for more than 3 months. The public costs of floods, while they're still being tallied, will likely run into the hundreds of millions of dollars in district states. The private loss of wealth is mostly unknown, aside from anecdotes, but they're likely even higher. Early estimates put total damage in the billions. Minot, North Dakota was flood zero in the district, but many other places also suffered significant flood damage, from Sun River in northwestern Montana to Crow Agency in the southeastern part of the state. In North Dakota, small communities along the Souris, like Burlington, saw similar fates as Minot, just not at the same scale. Rural areas outside of Bismarck and Mandan, North Dakota, saw close to 600 homes damaged. In South Dakota, more than 600 homes were also inundated, mostly in rural residential areas along the Missouri River. In all, federal flood disasters were declared in more than 2/3 of all counties in the Dakotas and Montana. The fortunate irony of this flood story is that it could have been much worse. Just along the Missouri River, thousands of homes were believed to be in the flood's path. Places like Bismarck and Pierre and Dakota Dunes were predicted to see significant flooding. But advance warning of the flood peak, in most cases about 7 to 10 days, helped communities build new levees, fortify existing ones, and gave residents the incentive to fill some 20 million sandbags in an effort to protect their own properties. With the exception of Minot, which had only 3 days of warning and could not erect levees fast enough to be protected, many other cities, particularly those along the Missouri River, avoided real catastrophe. Unfortunately, homes in hard-to-protect rural areas were not as lucky. And even where large-scale disaster was avoided, a mess has been left behind. Local governments spent many millions preparing for floods and protecting residents from them. But it will take many more millions to repair the damage to roads, bridges, water and sewer systems, parks, and other public infrastructure once things dry out. Some rivers and streams remained above flood stage well into August, which makes for a short cleanup period before winters freeze. Though many communities avoided inundation, tens of thousands of homes across the district states are coping with persistent groundwater in basements and crawl spaces. And where water lingers, mold becomes a serious and costly problem. And if water tables don't drop before freeze-up, there will be more damage to public and private water and septic systems, among other things. Many communities will get grant assistance from federal and state disaster programs, but supplementary federal assistance, often seen in past disasters, isn't expected this time because of tight federal budgets. homeowners will have an even larger burden. As few as 10% of homeowners are believed to have flood insurance. Even those homeowners eligible for federal assistance will receive only a small fraction of the cost to repair their homes. And with the water now receded, the hard part really starts. As one source in Morton County, North Dakota said, the preparation for floods is bad. The flooding itself is bad, but the cleanup is the worst. It's messy, disgusting, and heartbreaking. For much more on the 2011 floods, see the October issue of the Fed Gazette, as well as articles in the Fed Gazette Roundup blog, both of which are located on our website. Thanks for listening.